Hey guys, I'm Mark Pinto, and I'm here to tell you how the movie Hot Tub Time Machine can help you to be a better manifester. So I know what you guys are thinking. He can't be talking about that movie where they went back in time in a hot tub. That can't be what he's talking about. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. When I was coming back from the gym today, I had this inspiration that came to me, and it said, it's done. When it's talking about your manifestation, your manifestation is done already. And the only thing you have to do now is wait to see how it happens, right? Because how is not our domain. We focus on the end, and then we allow the how to unfold, right? And so as soon as I got that inspiration, that message, that movie came into my mind, and this particular scene or series of events came into my mind. There's this bellhop that comes in when they come to their hotel, and he's missing an arm. He's missing one arm, and he's like the rudest bellhop. I love this movie. I think it's hilarious, but some people think it's crude. It's a total guy movie. So anyway, he's grabbing the bags and he's like throwing them and all like crazy and stuff.
That's okay,
Oh,
man.
those are mine. I'll just get those.
And anyway, so they recognize that, you know, he made a big impression on them. So they realize that he's missing one arm. And then they go back in time in this hot tub and they see him back in time at the same hotel, but now he has an arm, right? So now they're like, oh my God, this is the guy that only had one arm. I wonder if he lost his arm in this time period, you know, that they're back in right now. So the whole time was waiting for his arm to be torn off. I know it sounds gruesome and everything, but there's a whole point to it, right? So every time he gets into a situation, they see him in a situation that could be happening, they're like on edge and they're waiting to see, is his arm going to come off? Is this the moment? But the whole point of that is that they saw the end. The end was him in the present day before they went back in time. The end was him without an arm, right? So now they went back in time and they knew and they believed in the end that they lived, you know? They believed in that end, that he didn't have an arm anymore, that this arm would be gone. So to them, it was just a matter of time for his arm to come off. They didn't know how, they didn't know when, but they always waited. So the first time he was doing like an ice sculpture with a chainsaw, and he was doing tricks. And they thought it was gonna happen then, but it didn't. And he's like, oh man, and it didn't happen. Then the next scene, he's in the elevator and his arm gets caught outside of the elevator.
Here we go. Here we go. Round two.
Should we help him?
No, this is his destiny.
Then the next scene, they're actually, one of them is falling off a roof, and he comes in out of nowhere and grabs hold, and they do like a daisy chain to hold everybody up, but he's the anchor at the top, and he's like, oh my God, is this how it's gonna happen? Is this arm gonna fall off and I'm gonna fall off this roof and die? You know, it's hilarious, but it didn't happen then.
Hold on. Hey!
We're done. This is how it happens. This is how he loses it. Fuck it. Fuck it. We're dead men. Just let me go.
And then in the end, he's waving bye to them. They're going back in their hot tub to go back to the present. And there's a car coming, and one of them stops him, says, hey, watch out for the car. And he moves his hand, and they think, oh man, that was it. That's when he was gonna lose his arm, but you messed it up. And then he goes back to wave again. Another truck passes, and it takes it off. And it's by surprise, right? They're like, oh my God, it actually happened. There it goes. That's how it happened, you know? And that's exactly how our manifestations work. Exactly in the same way. if we believe the end, we focus on whatever we want, and we embody it, we visualize it, we believe it is done, like Neville Goddard talks about. It's done, right? And this manifestation has been already created. Now it's just a matter of how it's going to happen. And every time they thought it was going to happen, they didn't get discouraged after it didn't happen, because they were so convinced, because they lived it. They already knew that he lost his arm. So every time he didn't lose his arm, they were like, oh my God, this is never going to happen. They knew it was just like, okay, it wasn't that time. When is it? And then the next time, oh, it wasn't this time. They weren't like, oh, this is not going to happen. No matter, even though it took 3 or 4 times before it to actually happen, they had all these close calls. They didn't think for 1 second that this wasn't going to happen, because they already lived the end. And that's what we have to do. We have to live in our end, to visualize and fully embody what it is that we want over and over and over, till we believe in that end so much that no matter what happens, even though we have these close calls when we think we're going to have our manifestation and it doesn't come, that we see, that we believe that it's going to happen anyway. It may come closer and like, oh man, that wasn't it, but I know it's coming. You know, I know it's already done, so I don't know how, but I guess that wasn't the how. Another how will come. And you just keep doing that over and over and over until it finally comes through and you're like, oh my God, that's how it happened. But a lot of times in manifestation, we have these close calls where we think, oh, this is it. This is when I'm actually going to get this thing. And then it doesn't happen. And then we get discouraged. Then we're like, this doesn't work. No. When you live in the end, when you believe the end fully, you know, like those guys did, right? Then it's just a matter of waiting to see how it happens. Is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And there's no discouragement, because it's just always like, okay, I know it's going to happen, so I just need to know how. And to give you an example from my life, one of the cars that I manifested, one of my dream cars, what I did is I went to visit the car every day. And I used to talk to it. I used to be like, I know you're mine. Thank you for being my car. I'm just coming to visit you. Let me know when I could take you home. I would say that all the time. Let me know when I can take you home. So in my mind, I used to visit randomly, like once or twice a week. If I was driving by the dealership, I would stop and go see it was a brand new car. I kept going to see the car, right? That was the end. I knew the car was mine, or better, that type of car, right? And I didn't know how I was going to get this car. So a situation came up with this new job and this money, that all of a sudden I got this flood of money in, unexpected and things like that, that was helping me, and my credit went out through the roof, unexpected, and all these scenarios came together for me to be able to get that car. But I wasn't able to get that specific car. So that was a how, you know? That wasn't the end, right? So I let that go. And to make a long story short, I had a lot of close ones, you know, within the next 2 weeks of finding a car. And then I finally got the car. And 2 weeks after, I had went to get that initial car. And it was just as good as that car. It was used. It wasn't brand new. But it was only like 2 years old. It had very little mileage on it. It was an amazing price. You know, I got a really good deal. And it was fully loaded. And it was treated like mint condition. And I loved that car. But I didn't get discouraged when every time I went to see it, because I knew it was already mine. And I was just waiting to see how it was going to fold. How was this going to come to me? And every time I went, I just affirmed that it was mine. I knew it was mine. And I was just like, when are you going to let me take you home? When are you going to let me? How am I going to take you? I wonder how this is going to happen. I have no clue. I can't see how this is going to happen. But I know you're mine. And I'm just excited to see how this is going to unfold and how I'm going to eventually get you. And it did. It took a couple tries of close calls of me getting cars, that car and other cars and stuff like that, but no cigar. But I always let it go, because I was like, okay, well, it's not that way. It's not that way. It's not that way. And then eventually, bam, I got it. And I was so excited. And it was the perfect example of living in the end, believing in the end, and letting go and letting the how unfold on its own. And sometimes you get in the how that you think is the how that's going to get you to the end, and it doesn't work. It's okay. Don't get discouraged. Just brush it off, let it go, and wait for the next one to come, because it's going to come. You don't know how it's going to come. You don't know when it's going to come. And sometimes the how that comes doesn't work out. Don't worry, there's another how. Just be curious. Be like a kid. Just be like, oh my God, I wonder how this is going to happen. I wonder how this is going to manifest. It didn't work that way, but I don't know. We'll see. I can't even think of a way, but we'll see. And then when it unfolds, let me tell you something. you'll be way more excited about the fact that you did this and how it happened than about even the thing that you got. Because then you're going to realize, I can do this with anything. So please like and subscribe. Thank you.